voice actors from your favorite anime, video games, and cartoons are playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition every Wednesday on a new podcast called The Dungeon Booth. The first 11 episodes bring together the English voice actors from the hit anime series My Hero Academia, including the voices of Eraserhead, Charge Bolt, Mandalay of the Wild Wild Pussycats, and the Invisible Girl. In the Dungeon Booth, these voice actors become original player characters in a wheels-off D&D adventure full of combat, discovery, intrigue, amateurish attempts at romance, and professionally timed fart jokes. And when each game ends, the next game begins with an all-new entertaining cast of voice actors ready to jump into the booth. So go listen today and every Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, or on their website at thedungeonbooth.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
And I'm Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons & Dragons, from timorous tabaxi to tall timber. And today, we're tackling the Tarrasque. The Dungeoncast. All right, Brian. It's the end of the year, and I wanted to end the year big. So I grabbed the biggest monster I could find and decided to talk about it.
How big?
The biggest. Not as big as you would think, though, if you actually look at the canon lore. Like, I would homebrew this thing to be bigger. But that being said, it's still really big.
Okay.
The Tarrasque. Do you know who and what the Tarrasque is, Brian?
I don't know who the Tarrasque is because I've never talked to him, but I do.
Fair enough.
I have heard rumors of it. I've seen it in the monster manual.
It's a fairly legendary D&D monster. It is technically a D&D original, and it's generally the strongest monster. That's kind of its thing. It's the strongest monster.
It's the Hulk.
Yeah, I believe it's a CR 30. I think it's a beast. Yeah.
Okay, so originals we've covered on the show. The Aboleth.
Oh,
the
we've
Tarrasque.
covered Beholder. That's another original. I mean, we've covered a few originals. It's hard to keep them all straight.
Yeah,
but
like true originals.
True
originals. I feel like there's some that are
yeah, there's some like dragons or kobolds and orcs and ogres. No, like okay, so we got the Tarrasque, Aboleths, Beholders, the Illithids.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've covered quite a few, but this is the biggest one.
Nice.
So the Tarrasque is essentially a gargantuan bipedal lizard or lizard-like creature that has but one instinct: eat, kill, destroy.
Yeah, doesn't it look like a turtle, kind of? Like
it does have kind of a shell on its back,
Yeah.
but the shell kind of also extends up its neck and onto its head and down its tail as well.
That's cool.
But it does have kind of a blastoise shell upon
like a
its
giant
back.
Turtle dinosaur.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
It's considered to be the single most powerful creature that's native to the material plane.
Okay.
It is portrayed as a 50-foot tall and 70-foot long T-Rex-like monster with broad and muscular body and a thick brown carapace that's, like, again, on its head all the way down its back and on its tails. Also, its tail has spikes, and as a matter of fact, its whole carapace has spikes that kind of line all the way down.
Nice.
It's like a big, meaty dinosaur.
Yeah, like a stegosaur or whatever.
Yeah, more like a T-Rex or like Godzilla. This is basically Godzilla.
So
this
does it
is
stand
the kaiju.
on two legs then?
It does for the most part, although there have been editions where it does kind of crawl on all
I feel
four.
like it like when I look at it, it's like a big.
It does
quadruped.
slouch pretty deeply, so it kind of goes back and forth, but it's considered to be bipedal.
Nice.
It has
that made it a lot scarier in my brain for some reason.
that it stands on two
just
legs,
like that much taller.
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
true.
just that much
That's
harder
true.
to get to your face.
It has spikes that protrude from its chin, its neck, its elbows, its shell, and also has these two signature like horns that come forward, kind of like a triceratops.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so and just razor sharp teeth and razor sharp claws.
I mean, like if you're a human and you can tell that the claws are sharp, they're really fucking sharp because you're like basically got a magnifying glass on this bad boy.
Right, indeed.
For killing.
Indeed.
Well, isn't it redundant to have like horns that big? Like to use them as weapons? They're more like smashing tools at that point.
Well, and yeah, that's very much what they're used for. They're ramming tools that usually ram down mountains or walls or whatever building is in its way.
Fuck this
now,
mountain.
The lore says it's 50 feet tall, which is pretty big. That's very big.
That's
but
very
like
big.
I've always pictured the Tarrasque more on Godzilla level.
Yeah,
big.
like hundreds of feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially with all the legendary lore around this thing basically being unstoppable. And that's kind of the Tarrasque deal is it is unkillable, unstoppable. It's like the Juggernaut and Wolverine put together. Like it heals, it cannot die, and if it breaks mountains in half as it marches through effortlessly. Is kind of its deal.
50-foot monster breaking a mountain down is like
A little ridiculous.
Yeah. So you would picture it to be bigger. Like
exactly.
I'm in view of a mountain, and the 50-foot creature, like physically, that doesn't add up to me.
It doesn't.
It would be like a blue whale, like growing legs and like marching up out of the ocean and like punching a building.
Right. Exactly.
More like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I would homebrew it bigger, but either way, the canon says 50 feet tall, 70 feet long, huge monstrosity.
Yeah, I mean, like all of that aside, that is very big. That is a large,
absolutely.
Very, very big.
So the raw strength and resilience of the Tarasque is really the stuff of legend. The carapace that's on its back is said to be completely impenetrable by all forms of like attacks, period, end story, spell, or weapon. Like
even magic missile.
Like it'll hit it, but it just won't do anything.
Oh, it just didn't do any damage.
Furthermore, the Tarasque is immune to all fear and charming tactics or abilities. It's immune to paralysis. It's immune to poison. It's immune to fire. And its attacks, and here that's kind of a big thing about it. The attacks that it makes completely ignore all forms of resistances and immunities, regardless of whatever magic spell you're casting.
It's just passively debuffing everybody.
Exactly.
Okay.
It is unstoppable.
Well,
is the idea here. Yeah.
It has a stat block. And you know, if it has a stat block, it theoretically could be stopped.
Now, the 5e lore really does skip over the unkillable part. That was kind of always a thing about the Tarasque, and it's just not mentioned in the monster manual.
Well, like that's I when you tell me something's unkillable and I have a sword, I think like, well, I have a sword.
Is it though?
Yeah, like I've killed a lot of things.
Well, it was really built into the actual mechanics of the Tarasque, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
It was just we can get into it now.
Probably put it back to sleep. If
I remember correctly, in previous editions, by knocking the Tarasque down to 0, you can then use a wish spell to send it back to sleep deep beneath the earth.
Oh, shit.
To rise again another day.
But you have to burn
future.
a 9th level wish to do it.
And that won't even kill it. If you use the wish to wish it dead, it will just go back to sleep. So there it is.
I wish you were dead. I can't do that, but I'll do the thing closest to it.
But I'll meet you halfway.
They say sleep is the cousin of death.
Indeed.
All right, so put it in a full Nelson, hit it with a baseball bat until it falls asleep, and then bury it.
Basically.
Okay.
So it's
you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna retitle this to "How to Kill the Tarasque."
How to Kill the Tarasque.
You can't, but you can make it go memes.
So it's said that there was only one Tarasque, for there was only one ever created. Now,
and then the gods were like, fuck, we fucked up.
So the how it was created is a bit conflicted, but the most common lore says that the Tarasque was originally created by the Primordials, who we have really not talked about much on this show, as an engine of war to destroy the gods and eat the world. Now, if you think of D&D gods, especially in the 4E, was the Dawn War pantheon.
Okay.
If you think of the D&D gods as like the Olympians in Greek mythology,
right.
And if you think of the Primordials like Titans,
okay.
Kind of like that.
Neat.
The Primordials were there first. They were the ones kind of like doing stuff and creating stuff.
Yeah.
But the gods came along and they wanted to bring all that chaos into order, and so they did. It started a war, and the Primordials ultimately lose.
Okay.
But there's a long war between the gods, if you will, that in time immemorial, and so the Primordials created the Tarasque.
That's like how the humans had to create like Master Chief and like Spartans in the Halo, in the Haloverse.
Sure, there's
an
analog
something.
There. So the idea here is that the Tarasque is designed not only to kill the gods, but once the gods are dead, like now destroy the prime material plane, because the prime material plane is really like a spit in the eye of the Primordials, because it's made up of the stuff that they made, like earth, fire, water, all the elements.
Yeah, it's Captain Planet.
But turned into this stagnant order that the Primordials hate, because they're all about chaos. The Tarasque is literally designed to devour the world. If you go by that lore. Now, there is other lore that claims that it was actually the creation of an ancient and evil cabal of wizards.
Okay.
And that's all that's said there.
They just like...
They're like, let's do it because we can. So, yeah.
They were like, no, we're not going to be liches. We're going to build something better than a lich.
Exactly. We need to build something that lasts.
How many liches would it take to kill or to put the Tarasque to sleep?
I would think in head-to-head combat, 4 liches minimum.
Minimum, okay.
Minimum.
So you just got to hope that the Tarrasque doesn't like continuously crit throughout the combat or something.
Oh yeah, that'll fuck the liches up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, to safely beat the Tarrasque, would you require like 8 liches or like 10 liches?
Confidently 8 liches. I think confidently you could be done with the Tarrasque.
So does the Tarrasque have like a lair? Is it like one of those kind of monsters?
The lair is the earth itself.
You've been in my lair all this time.
So regardless of the lore that you use for its origin, the idea is that this abomination is said to slumber in some deep secret place in the earth, and when it awakens, destruction follows.
Okay.
That's basically all that needs to be said about that.
So literally, like this is actually just Godzilla.
It's just Godzilla, yeah. And this is often a campaign ender. It's like, okay, well, the campaign's over. Everyone's level 20. What do we do now? It's like, okay, well, the Tarrasque shows up. Deal with it. And if they do, it's like, okay, let's start a new campaign.
It's like the end of Holy Grail when the police show up.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Well, fuck it. What do we do now? This.
So the destructive potential of the Tarrasque is truly so vast that many of the cultures across like the various D&D worlds have incorporated the Tarrasque into their own religious doctrine. So they paint the Tarrasque as a form of like divine judgment, like that comes down upon mankind or whatever, for not being good enough.
The gods are mad. Time to wake up this bad boy.
Right. And it's said that Tarrasque is likely responsible for the sudden destruction of entire ancient civilizations that just kind of vanished without a trace.
Okay.
Like, some lore was like, oh yeah, this ancient empire just vanished. Everyone was killed, and all their cities were destroyed. And we have like these last records of like mentioning of a great reptilian beast emerging from the earth, and that's the last thing we got.
It was like
them.
a stone tablet that they happened to find the 2 broken pieces before the Tarrasque like did its body slam.
Exactly. Well, it reminds me.
They're like frantically like hammering a
this
picture
is
of it.
happening now.
They're like they must know. People must know.
Well, it reminds me of in the Mines of Moria in Fellowship of the Ring when they find the book, the historical record of the dwarves, and they're like, it came from the deep.
Oh yeah,
drums in the deep and all that. So it's similar to that.
It's like an H.P. Lovecraft story where they're writing about how the monster is coming up the stairs, like in their journal.
Oh yeah, it's just like that. That's a really good one. Yeah. So in addition's past, the Tarrasque was unkillable, like I said before. It had boundless endurance, a magical connection with the material plane. So that's part of the reason that it's unkillable. So it's said to be inherently connected to the world and like cannot die unless the world is destroyed.
Okay.
So long as the material plane continues to exist, the Tarrasque cannot die.
It's what's her face from Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like Hela, how she's
like
tied
Hela.
to Asgard. Yeah, it's very similar to that.
That's cool. That's a cool power.
Yeah, and it's theorized that one way to actually kill the Tarrasque is if you could trick it into another plane of existence and just leave it there or kill it there.
What are we talking about intelligence wise?
Not.
Okay, so
I think like a 5 is what it's listed in the monster manual. We'll look at the stats.
So there's like
in
a level of intelligence where you could trick somebody with words still because they're dumb, but this is like below that.
Yeah, you got to definitely dangle some bait to get it go through the giant portal.
Okay, so what would bait the Tarrasque?
I mean, a giant lamb chop. I don't know.
The biggest lamb chop.
The biggest lamb chop.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a terrible
actually
answer.
doesn't sound too hard to do.
So meat?
Like meat.
Like-
I mean, food. It likes to eat. It likes to destroy. I mean, honestly, this is how I would do it. Giant portal, and then I would have like a massive illusion spell going to simulate like a town.
Yeah.
Like, go, there it is. Destroy it.
Go get that.
He
Go get
goes
it, boy.
for it, Big old smile on his face.
Throw the biggest fucking tennis ball.
Right.
And it just like goes into the city, and then he closes the portal.
Or a dog bone or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And so it's pretty easy to defeat the Tarrasque then.
Bones of 1,000 dragons. Okay.
So in my search for Tarrasque lore, there wasn't a whole ton of it, but I did find a really cool story in Dragon Magazine 359. And it tells a story about the earliest recorded appearance of the Tarrasque in ancient times. And the story tells of an ancient elven empire and its mighty capital called Starfall. Now, this city was supposed to be like the mightiest and most magically advanced city in the world, and it was protected by this magical barrier known as the Starfall Shield.
That's cool.
And
that's pretty cool.
It was said to be the greatest magical creation the elves had ever achieved to date.
And it was written that it was the coolest shit.
Yeah, basically. The main thing about the Starfall Shield was it devoured any type of magical attack against it.
Oh,
it just
wow.
completely absorbed it. It even was strong enough to completely stop ancient dragons, and it tells the story of like this mighty fell dragon like crashing into it and trying to like just physically puncture this barrier, and it basically was frozen in the barrier completely and trapped, and then they just killed it where it was stuck in the sky.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like a big net.
Yeah, and that's an ancient dragon. That's exceptionally powerful.
Right.
So
That's cool. There's a lot of lore about dragons getting tricked by bubbles like that, like barrier bubbles. I know they do that in Crit Roll for a little bit, where they had like a bubble that was like kind of the dragon would just like fly by and didn't know there was a city there. Kind of.
Oh,
deal.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, kind of like Wakanda, where it's all hidden.
Yeah, that's
really
cool.
cool.
Oh
I like
yeah,
that.
there's lots of parallels. Harry Potter, you know, when they're just that scene with Voldemort, and he's like, "You all suck. Let me blow this fucking castle's bubble up." He's
Right.
like, ah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like that, Brian. So Starfall, it exists and it's mighty and all this other good shit. And
They have all the vibranium.
The elves are really, really secure in their kind of supremacy over the world at this point. Again, this is almost in time immemorial, so it's a long, long time ago. But rumors start emerging from the far-flung corner of the empire of this gargantuan beast that is awakened.
Okay.
And it begins to destroy elven city after elven city, and nothing they do stops it. They have like hosts of war mages, armies of knights. They hurl every bit of might they have against this thing, and it just does nothing. The great dragons of good, they all descend upon this monstrosity to fight it, and they're all slain.
They have a bunch of broken like level 18 characters doing like polearm tricks, and it's not working.
It's not working. Not working. The mountain that then separated Starfall from the rest of the empire ends up being destroyed as the monster, the Tarrasque, simply walks through it like it's nothing. and then it comes up against the Starfall Shield, and it shatters the shield. And the beast throws down the great city and devours and slays everything. Then when all is destroyed and the empire is left in ruins and untold thousands are killed, the beast lumbers back into the earth and disappears again, never to be seen again until it is later.
It's never to be seen again until
we're talking about it here and now. So in all, the Tarrasque is more akin to a force of nature than a monster,
right,
or an insidious villain. It hungers, it destroys, and before it tires and slumbers for a millennium or whatever,
or sometimes an hour,
Yeah, like we're about to.
Indeed,
time to take a short rest.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode. We're not talking about the last thing we were talking about. We're talking about something smaller in scale, but larger in our hearts. It's you and how much we love you. We love you.
Indeed, we do.
Love you so much.
Indeed.
Oh man, I'm welling up with love. We'll pop the bubble. No, we want to mention some specific people we love. Let's see here. We have Scott Ryman. Thank you for becoming a patron, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Also, Gray Gagne? I think it's pronounced Gagne. It's Gagnier.
Thank you, Gray.
Then we got Alex Martinez.
Thank you, Alex.
And then we got Sean Duncan.
Thank you, Sean.
And then we got Mauricio Carvalho.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank you guys so much for becoming patrons. I hope you guys are all enjoying your bonus content. Make sure that you are checking it out because it's real cool. And I'm looking at the tier pledges, and you guys are hitting it all over. So thank you guys so much. What do we got to talk about today?
I think today we wanted to shout out to our live play on YouTube, Super Quest Saga, where me, Brian, and a couple other members of the Dungeoncast crew sit around, play some Dungeons and Dragons, and we play a very special game. It's a space cyberpunk game. And, so
we've it's space opera, space cyberpunk. We're in space. It's D&D 5e, and fucking awesome. And I think you guys should really go watch it. It's on YouTube. If you go search the Dungeoncast, you will find it along with our other stuff we do on this channel, which is a podcast.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And things are moving along. You guys are exploring decrepit spaceships and learning all kinds of weird space goblin lore.
We're trying to turn on the regular gravity on the ship right now.
Yeah, the artificial gravity. Actually, yeah.
God.
Now I think robots with lightsabers are happening.
We're about to get attacked by robots with lightsabers.
Indeed.
I'm gonna shoot it with my.
So yeah, go check it out to see if they survive.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man. Anyway, let's get back to the show.
Back to the show. All right, we're back.
We've returned.
Indeed. So everything that's been said, I think it's pretty obvious. So Tarrasque really is like truly it's final boss material.
Oh yeah. Well, it's final boss material.
It really is.
It's that hidden boss you find after the final boss.
That's exactly
like
right.
randomly way stronger.
It's not the final boss, it's the ultimate boss. It's not Ultimecia, it's the Omega weapon.
Yeah.
Indeed. Final Fantasy VIII reference for anyone who loves the Final Fantasy VIII, which I do. So, so that being said, it's often used as a campaign ender, but I have a couple ideas to have a campaign kind of surrounding the concept of the Tarrasque.
So it's not just a campaign ender, it's a campaign starter.
That's how I feel about it. It can be. It often is not used as one, but I think it can be, and even it should be.
That's my adventuring hook. The Tarrasque ate my mom.
Right.
I'm gonna kill that bad boy.
So I got two campaign ideas. The first one I just call Final Fantasy X style, which is essentially it's the plot to Final Fantasy X. I don't know if you've played Final Fantasy X, but
I've played it. I didn't finish it.
So in Final Fantasy X, spoilers for Final Fantasy X. I'm just going to say that right now.
Final Fantasy X.
If you haven't played it,
turn off the podcast.
Minimal but kind of important spoilers.
Fast forward a minute or so.
So in Final Fantasy X, the world that you're in is periodically terrorized by this enormous gargantuan monstrosity known as Sin, and it returns every once in a while. Usually it takes years, sometimes decades, but always a group of adventurers has to go along a certain path to gain the power to basically put it back to sleep deep beneath the ocean.
And kill it with 3D soccer.
Sure. Wait, what?
Don't you remember that soccer bubble?
Oh, the Blitzball.
Blitzball, that's what it's called. Sorry, it's 3D soccer.
It is 3D soccer, though. You're right. But yeah, so Sin returns and is slowly but surely destroying civilization, and a party of adventurers must attempt to gain the power and knowledge to stop it. Bam, there's your campaign.
There you go.
Like, the Tarrasque has emerged, and this is a thing people know about, and you got to go around trying to figure out or trying to gain the power that need be gained to put it back deep beneath the earth.
Cool. It's probably like a real slow start where you're just asking like barkeeps how to kill the Tarrasque. And
right.
They're like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, definitely start slow.
Yeah.
So that's my first campaign idea. That one's kind of a lazier one, but I think it's just a solid framework that you can work with. Like,
you could do, I mean, yeah, you just input the interesting things. Not that that's not interesting. It is interesting, but like input the like dress it up on the journey, you know, like
right. I mean, you can, if you want, actually follow the Final Fantasy X plot, but my point here is like it's the same premise.
Yeah,
like yeah, exactly. So my second idea, my more favorite one, I just call the Great Kaiju Battle, and so this requires giving the Tarrasque a huge power boost in the end game because of the way it goes down. So it's kind of the same as the Final Fantasy X one where the Tarrasque emerges and you have to figure out what to do to stop it.
Right.
But in this one specifically, I had the idea of, well, what if you, in order to stop the Tarrasque, the only way to stop it because it's just so powerful is to, I don't know if I want to use the word capture or tame, but to ally yourself and bring into your bring an alliance about between the four elder elementals that are presented in Mordenkainen and Stomaphos.
Okay, yeah.
So Mordenkainen and Stomaphos presents these four like elder elementals that are super badass. There's the Phoenix, the Leviathan, the Elder Tempest, and the Zaratan. I just think it'd be really fucking cool if each player would ride one of these elemental monstrosities into battle against the Tarrasque and duke it out Godzilla style.
Oh, cool.
Which is why you'd have to give the Tarrasque a huge power boost because these are very powerful monsters and it's 4-on-1.
Okay.
But it would just be epic as fuck.
The
It would be
Tarrasque
Battle
can-
of the Gods.
The
yeah.
Tarrasque can now cast mirror image.
Right, or something, you know?
They're
And just like the Phoenix obviously is a giant firebird, and the Leviathan's like this giant sea serpent, but the Elder Tempest is like this 20-winged electric kind of sky serpent.
Oh, God.
And then Zaratan is this giant earth turtle. Like, so
That's cool.
it'd be super cool. It's just it was the initial thought I had when I opened up Mordenkainen's and I saw the Elder Elementals. I was like, oh my God, Tarrasque fight. That'd be amazing.
That is really, really cool.
So those are my two campaign ideas of how you can integrate the Tarrasque into your campaign.
Or you could just like lift the plot of Godzilla off of whatever and like ride a giant moth into battle.
Yeah, there you go.
On the same note.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that being said, let's actually take a look at 5e's Tarrasque monster block. Now, I've heard that this is not as overwhelmingly powerful as some people think the Tarrasque should be. I've heard that this thing can get taken down by a group of 5 level 20s almost easily.
Oh.
I don't know how true that is. So,
well, I guess it would depend like how like that comes down to the player, right? Like how good are you at managing combat?
It also comes down to the dungeon master too, but yeah. You're right.
How many nat ones you roll?
I'm definitely curious to see any players out there who've actually taken on the 5e Tarrasque to let me know how it goes. If you let us know in the comments, I'd be really interested to see how your fight against the Tarrasque went. But that being said, let's actually take a look at it. So it's considered to be a gargantuan monstrosity. And then it's just this titan in parentheses. I'm not sure what that means, but its armor class is 25 natural armor.
That's that's a big number for our armor class.
Got 676 hit points, which is high, but I would have thought it'd be higher.
It's manageable at the high levels.
Yeah. Now its stats are really, this thing is min-maxed. 30 strength, 30 con, 3 intelligence, 11 wisdom, 11 charisma, 11 dexterity. So just all strength, all con.
Yeah.
All the way.
For monsters, that's fine.
Yeah. Like I said before, it's immune to fire and poison. It's also immune to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. It's immune to charm. It's immune to frighten. It's immune to paralyze, and it's immune to poisoned. It also has blind sense, so you can't blind this thing.
That's cool.
It can just see always everything.
It's Toph Beifong from Last Airbender. It can just like see vibrations in the earth.
Right. So
you can feel the air pressure changing as you fly through the sky at it.
Right. The Tarrasque is armed with legendary resistance 3 times a day, which is just if the Tarrasque fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed instead of fail.
It says fuck it.
Yeah, which is a lot of things with legendary actions that are like this high CR, they all have that legendary resilience. I think Ancient Dragons get it. Any of the god avatars get it. It's just I think the Demon Lords get it.
Like, I just fucking said no.
Exactly.
Because I'm God.
The Tarrasque also has magic resistance, which means it has advantage on all saving throws against spells and other magical effects, period.
Okay.
So casting spells on it is kind of difficult. It has a reflective carapace, which says anytime the Tarrasque is targeted by a magic missile spell, a line spell, or a spell that requires a ranged attack roll a d6. On a 1 to 5, the Tarrasque is unaffected. On a 6, the Tarrasque is unaffected, and the effect is reflected back at the caster as though it originated from the Tarrasque, turning the caster into a target. Now that's brutal. Because so it has all this resilience against all the saves, right?
Yeah.
But in order to mitigate the other half of spellcasting, it was a spellcasting attack. That's even harder to hit with actual spell attack.
Yeah, it's a reflector. It's like a down special in Smash Brothers. You just fucking pop off like fuck your magic missiles.
Right, exactly. And you only have a 1. Like if you hit the AC, which is a 25.
Then you have to pass this next
Yeah,
thing.
and you only have a 1 out of 6 chance to actually pass that. That's brutal.
Yeah, you're going to be burning slots.
And another feature it gets is called Siege Monster. The Tarrasque deals double damage to objects and structures.
Oh,
fuck this building.
That makes sense.
So those are all the features.
That's cool.
It has a whole host of actions as well. So it has multi-attack. It has a bite action, a claw action. It has its horns and it has its tail. And as its multi-attack, the Tarrasque can use its frightful presence, which is also something it has. It then makes 5 attacks, 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws, 1 with its horn, and 1 with its tail. And it can also use its swallow instead of its bite.
It just does a Legend of Zelda like barrel roll, like front flip on the ground.
It's just attacking you on all sides at all times. So just to give a taste of what its like melee capabilities is, its bite has a plus 19 to hit. Yeah. It does 4d12 plus 10 piercing damage. If the target is a creature, it is grappled with an escape DC of 20. Until the grapple ends, the target is restrained and the Tarrasque can can't bite another target.
Oh, because it's biting you.
So it can get a guy with its mouth. And then if the Tarrasque has grappled and after biting someone, it can swallow. And the Tarrasque makes 1 bite attack with the swallow against a large or smaller creature it is grappling. If the attack hits, the target takes the bite's damage. The target is swallowed and the grapple ends. Jesus. While swallowed, the creature is blinded and restrained. It has total cover against attacks and other effects outside the Tarrasque, and it takes 56 or 16d6 acid damage at the start of each turn in the Tarrasque's belly.
She's getting digested.
If the Tarrasque takes 60 damage or more in a single turn from a creature inside of it, the Tarrasque must succeed on a DC 20 Constitution saving throw at the end of the turn or regurgitate all swallowed creatures, which fall prone in a space within 10 feet of the Tarrasque. If the Tarrasque dies, a swallowed creature is no longer restrained by it and can escape.
Hopefully you have like really long spears on you or whatever. You can just like kind of like just like shove it in there real slow.
Seriously.
Until you get vomited.
Having to dish out 60 damage from the inside, that's brutal.
You're going to die.
Yeah. If you're a spellcaster, that's extra brutal because almost anything you do is going to hit you too.
What is it going to calculate to like level 18 to 20 characters? Like 2-3 hits and you're dead? Probably like three turns of that and you're dead.
Maybe.
What do you got? Like 150 HP?
4 or 5 turns max
Yeah.
of 16d6 acid damage.
Yeah, as long as you don't have like special resistance or whatever.
True. And then Frightful Presence. Each creature of the Tarasque's choice within 120 feet of it and aware of it must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns with disadvantage if the Tarrasque is within line of sight, ending the effect on itself on a success. If a creature's saving throw is successful or the effect ends for it, the creature is immune to the Tarrasque's Frightful Presence for the next 24 hours. So dragons kind of have that too, the Frightful Presence. You know, you're scared.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be?
Well, you're magically scared. It's different.
That's true. You're right. It is a more magical.
It's that second level. It's that otherworldly fear.
So lastly, the Tarrasque gets legendary actions, which, as we discussed, are actions that it can take. I think is it in its off turn, or I think it's just extra actions it can take on its turn that are separate from normal actions.
Okay.
And so at the start of each of its turn, it has 3 legendary points that it can spend, and then it has an option of things it can spend those points on.
Okay.
So the 3 options are attack, move, and chomp. So attack, the Tarrasque makes an extra 1 claw attack or tail attack.
Okay.
Move, the Tarrasque moves up to half its speed, so it can just move faster.
It's got key points.
And then for 2 points, it can chomp. The Tarrasque makes 1 bite, attack, or uses its swallow. So it's just more of the same, really.
Just more attack.
Exactly.
More power.
So there you go. That's the Tarrasque. It bites, it stomps, it claws, and it swallows.
Good.
Yeah. Any questions about the Tarrasque, Brian?
Do you remember that Acquisitions Inc. game where they
where they fight the Tarrasque?
They fight the Tarrasque, but they're in like a giant they're in a giant robot.
They're in a giant like stone robot. Yeah.
Like
that was a great episode.
They find it in like a cavern and they beat like some ninjas. What the hell was it?
A lot of stuff happens.
Yeah.
But they awaken Hallister Blackcloak's like ancient magical thing that he created, which is a giant robot.
Yeah, and they fight the Tarrasque and they beat it.
Yeah, I think they fight it on top of the city of Waterdeep.
Was it Waterdeep? It was definitely a city, and they definitely destroyed a bunch of it.
It was either Waterdeep or it was Neverwinter. Either way, they fought the Tarrasque in a giant robot on top of a city. I
know that we're not like super into like Forgotten Realms on this show.
Yeah,
I mean we recognize that it's like the major setting,
right?
In Forgotten Realms, do you happen to know where the Tarrasque would be canonically?
I think I read.
Is it under Waterdeep?
Well, no, not canonically. I mean, maybe now after that.
Obviously, you could put it wherever. But
the only thing that I really read about Forgotten Realms Tarrasque lore, there was an empire called Netheril, and it was said that the Tarrasque slept deep within the earth in a secret place within the empire of Netheril.
Okay,
but that was at a certain point of time. Because remember, I told you this continuity spans centuries.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not familiar with like the calendar and the chronology of Forgotten Realms. So
yeah, and
I'm not even sure what era that was in.
There's probably a Forgotten Realms like packet with tectonic plate shifting that has moved the Tarrasque over a certain period of time. Yeah. Man, they get like real deep into their fucking like calendars and god lore.
Oh
and, like,
yeah,
so much shit.
It's the nature of the setting being around so long.
Yeah.
But if anyone out there actually knows where the Tarrasque may be right now in Forgotten Realms, let us know in the comments.
Hashtag where's the Tarrasque?
Yeah,
and then
there we go.
tweet out to us because
exactly.
we want to know.
So that being said, I think it's time to get ready for a long rest.
I think we should get ready for a long rest. And while we're getting ready for our long rest, let's talk about TDC Plays, I think.
Indeed. So in case you haven't heard, we here at the Dungeoncast have a gaming channel. It's called TDC Plays. It's a sister channel. It's heavily what's the word? Affiliated.
Yeah.
And yeah, we play video games. So go check it out if you want to hang out with us and watch us play video games. I think right now we got a Pokemon Heart Gold run. It's a Nuzlocke run, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've had some deaths. We've had some Pokemon deaths, but we've had some Pokemon victories as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
We don't focus on the Pokemon death. We just focus on the Pokemon life.
Indeed.
You guys are also playing Outlast, which has been fun to hear you scream as I edit.
Yes. It's been very scary and frustrating. I think we recently had a rage quit. Like I was furious at the gameplay of I don't want to talk about it.
Smash Brothers is on its way.
Indeed
We've got
it
some
is.
plans to get that going. Everybody's getting used to Smash Brothers right now. There's a lot of talk about Smash Brothers, and I think this is a good segue into our Discord. There's a link below for the Discord. We highly encourage all of you to join it if you have more specific questions that you're not getting from this episode or etc. If you want to talk about this episode, if you want to talk about things you did in Dungeons and Dragons with people who play Dungeons and Dragons, if you want to talk about your dog, come to our Discord. There's a lot of really great stuff going on there. Thank you so much to the moderators.
Indeed, thank you guys so much.
You guys are doing great work.
You guys really are, and the community there is top notch. I love diving into the conversation or just watching the conversation and seeing what people are talking about. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're like 300 strong going into the 400. I think at the time of this recording. So
right.
Come on by. It's been really rewarding to be in there and interact with everybody who listens to the show. And that being said, if you are a member of the Patreon, you have a special link to a special channel in our Discord. So
Indeed,
come check that out.
Yeah, that's true.
We have links below for our YouTube channel, Super Quest Saga, the Patreon, where we play a superhero game in the $10 tier. You can check that out. We have games in the $5 tier that you can listen to. You get your name shouted out on the show, obviously, if you listen to the short rest.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, and just of note, we do still have ad space available. Thanks to the Dungeon Booth for sponsoring this episode. We highly encourage you guys to check that out. Also, we have ad space at our mid-roll and at the back end of the podcast. So if you guys want to reach out about ad space,
let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We're happy to work with anybody. We'll read your ad. We'll send it to you before we post it. It's been a great experience so far working with other creators. So. Do we got anything else we want to mention?
I don't think so. So with that being said, let's call it a game.
Call it a game.
We'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you guys next year.
Yeah.
The Dungeoncast.
Another.
She brews a proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee pot.